Hi, I'm Andy Nathan from Columbia University, and the Asian Barometer survey has played an important role in my professional life, 3 decades so far. I was privileged to be in on the prehistory of the Asian Barometer. I had a graduate student in the 1980s named Tianjian Shi, one of my very favorite books in the world. Unfortunately, he passed away in his 50s when he was a tenured professor at Duke in 2010. But in 1990, Tianjian was a PhD student at Columbia, and Yunhan Chu came to Columbia as a visiting professor from Taiwan, and the two of them got together and were friends and thought about the exciting possibility of doing comparative surveys in 3 Chinese territories: the mainland, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. I thought this was a great idea. And I happened to be in Hong Kong a little bit later, and the two of them asked me to sell this proposition to 2 Hong Kong professors, H.C. Guan and S.K. Lau, who were both at the Chinese University. And I remember meeting Guan and Lau on a weekend in the faculty club at the Chinese University. There was nobody there. The lights were not on. They listened to me somewhat skeptically. We had not known each other, but I was able to persuade them to join. And so we ran a survey in these 3 Chinese societies, built upon work that the 3 teams had done before, because Guan and Lau had published a very important book on the political culture of the Hong Kong Chinese based on surveys they had put out in Hong Kong. The Taiwan team, led by Yunhan, had been working with Yunhan's professor Hu Fo for a long time in Taiwan, measuring Taiwan democratic culture, and Tianjian had pioneered survey research in mainland China. That wasn't being done by academics at that time, and he was the first one, I think, to do a social science survey of all of China. And there's a long story about trouble that he had doing it, but he did do it. So that was the first study that we did, was 3 Chinese societies. And then Yunhan sort of took over with his wonderful management skills and gradually expanded this enterprise. And in 9 years after he and Tianjian first met in 1999, Yunhan was able to establish and get funding for something called the East Asian Barometer, which expanded from the 3 Chinese territories that we had studied and included 5 other places: Japan, South Korea, and others. So we had 8 Asian political systems that we were studying. And today, as you know, it has expanded to be the Asian Barometer survey, with 15 different East and Southeast Asian political systems being surveyed periodically and in conjunction with the South Asian Barometer. And those 2 barometers that are both Asian, East and South Asian, are also part of something called the Global Barometer Survey Network. So it's a huge enterprise of inestimable value. I've seen so many publications by so many scholars, young scholars and senior scholars, using these data. But for me, the 30 years of participation have been an incredible learning experience. I would say the most important learning experience for me. My whole academic career, I feel that I've been learning from teaching, from doing research. But here, I've been able to work with this amazing network of mostly younger and middle-aged scholars from the region who have very advanced analytic and statistical skills. And they've taught me so much, both about regional politics and about, in graduate school, I was trained in what was then a very kind of primitive form of statistics. And I've tried to keep up. I'm always lagging. I don't keep up, but I try to advance statistical skills. And it's with great enjoyment that I have been able to sort of drag myself along behind these other scholars in the project. So recently I published an article that I'm rather proud of called The Puzzle of Authoritarian Legitimacy, that's based on the Asian Barometer data. I had to work very hard to do what is a fairly basic statistical analysis, but the data are so rich that I think, for me, I found just a huge amount of insight from it. And I look forward now going forward to continue this part of my research agenda, to try to continue to use these rich data to study issues that concern me about democracy, about political culture, about legitimacy in Asia. And I wish we had a global survey where we could compare Asia to, say, the United States and so forth, but we do have the global barometers for comparison with many other parts of the world. So I'm really excited about this anniversary of the Asian Barometer surveys, and I feel so privileged to have been involved and to have learned so much from being a member of the project. Thank you very much.